Well, either way, it was definitely good, and it's definitely going to be good tonight. Hey, yo, Code Keepers, we got a nice one for you tonight. You know what? If you ever saw that craziness by Netflix called Self Made on the life of Madam C.J. Walker, and you know how we went in on that one because that was a pack full of lies. But the biggest lie, the biggest lie is the fact that people think that you can be self made, that you can do it all by your lonesome, that you don't need nobody else. You just pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, right? Right? Wrong.
All right, welcome to Get On Code, the Fly Guy Show, which is a series of melanated conversations focused on empowerment, health, wealth, and knowledge of self.
People think in binary choices because they are conditioned to.
And on the wall was a picture of a wolf and a lion. I think the wolf was the Democratic Party, the lion was the Republicans.
But the drug trade and all these illegal stuff that people do, that's still economics. It's just that they couldn't do it in a traditional system.
We're talking about melanated wealth.
So we can build wealth, but we just, for some reason, don't seem to be able to transfer it.
You had a great experience. Fine. That means nothing.
What were you told as a child about education? You had to be how many times better?
Every impression without an expression becomes depression.
Ain't nobody self-made. Ain't nobody self-made. Ain't nobody self-made. And we got the good brother from another mother and father, my brother, Dan Tres Omi. What's good, hermano?
Peace, man. How you doing, brother? You doing all right?
Everything is love, man. Love is life. We got Fit Goddess in the house. Peace, Queen.
Peace.
And of course, we have our resident metaphysician. I'm stumbling already. I'm tired. Zumbi, what's good, bro?
Peace.
Hey, look, Zumbi, you and I were just talking about 10 positions that people need when they build their team. Because there's this big myth that you can do it alone. Why don't we start off by you running down just those 10? Just give us the word. You ain't have to give us the diatribe.
Okay.
Just give us the word.
So what we were talking about, for those of you who are watching Precise Thinking, I've taken a chapter from my book, okay, Gospel of Afronomics Theology, and the chapter is called Advisors to the King or Queen. In my research, where successful wealth builders and wealth creators have what I call a cabinet, and I've designated 10 positions that every wealth creator and every wealth builder should have. So these 10 positions are: 1, an accountant or CPA, certified public accountant. 2, an attorney or lawyer. 3, a banker, be it personal and or an investment banker. Number 4, a financial advisor or a CFP, certified financial planner. Number 5, an insurance agent or broker. Number 6, an estate planning attorney. Number 7, an asset protection attorney. Number 8, a tax attorney. Number 9, a real estate agent or broker. And number 10, a business advisor or coach.
All right, so that's in the business world, the growth, wealth, business, wealth building world. But I think those things kind of also fall into our personal lives. Mm-hmm. And when we deal with the fact that nobody's self-made, we're talking about in parenting, nobody's self-made. We're talking about in terms of conscious building. You have somebody that's your enlightener. So nobody's self-made. You know what I'm saying? It took a masculine and feminine energy together to make all of us. Ain't nobody self-made. One of the things that I think is real important is the parenting in our community. So, Fit Goddess, what's the deal? You parent with a tribe.
Oh,
Where they do that at? Where they do that at?
What you mean everywhere? So again, you always know that I always say that I'm transported. I'm not from here. I'm not from Virginia, even though I've been here almost longer than where I was from. Um, what's the movie quote? I always rely on the kindness of strangers. Not to mention, I'm only one person. Like I may be every woman, but I only know a little bit about a lot. So there's a myriad of things that I can't teach my sons. Like number one, I can't teach them how to be a man. So why would I try? Why would I force myself into a position that I can't assume when two, there's a myriad of phenomenal options out here. I just have to surround them with it, and it's like chocolate. They get to choose.
All right. You can't teach your sons to be a man.
Nah.
Now, with the queens out there that are, studying from some other books, that sounds like slander. That's got to sound like.
Hold
I
on.
mean, Danny, would Bell Hooks agree with that? Would Nikki Giovanni agree with that?
I'm not even gonna go to the gospel of Bell Hooks. I mean, my mom is a warrior. She didn't know how to raise warriors. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. She's, the goddess is right. That, you have to have a tribe, a community to raise your babies. It was never meant to be a 2-person job. It's never meant to be a 1-person job. And I mean, but a lot of things that I learned, either she taught me or she said, you need to go here to learn. You know what I mean? So but here's my thing. My thing is, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a perfect example.
I know you are, brother. Go ahead.
So how I'm supposed to take care of my family, she taught me how to do that, right? And look, a lot of times we like to say, and we're going off on a tangent, by the way. Just real quick, we're going off on a tangent from what the thing is. But what I'm saying is that, she's like, you're a nurturer. You nurture your babies. You know what I mean? On top of providing, you're also a nurturer. Because we all men should be nurturers, right? We have to be like turtles. We have to be hard on the inside, hard on the outside, but soft on the inside. You know what I mean? So definitely I'm going to just say this, like my man says, Supreme, he always says the hood is indigenous. So everything I learned in the hood, whether it was fishing, whether it was feminism, whether it was the supreme mathematics, I learned all of that in my neighborhood. I didn't learn any of that outside, particularly Black history. We're talking about how right now they're trying to get, CRT and Black history, AP out of education. But you can speak on this, Seko. We didn't learn none of that in the classrooms. We learned all of that in the street. You know what I mean?
We didn't. Right.
I got my Joel A. Rogers volume 1, 2, and 3 on the street corner in Harlem. I remember listening to Dr. Amos Wilson when he had a store on Harlem. He would play his lectures and the law students were coming out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But my moms did teach me. She did say you have to do stuff for your community, and she actually told me. She used to tell me all the time. If you can help somebody, it is your duty to help them.
True, but that's not indicative of being a man. I would teach my daughters that too.
I think it is.
I don't. As a woman who finds herself in a community, and again, like I told Seko, I was taught to be a man at 8. So it's not. It's very empowering as a woman to have these kinds of conversations, to be like, you have a presence in this place. It's not just a man's place to be in the community and be a forefront, because women are needed just like men. However, there's a certain way to go about it. The way that a woman maneuvers through the community is not the same as the way a man maneuvers through the community. Last time I was on the show, they were talking about how we take off our sweatshirts. Right? If a young boy is around his mother, you gonna see him pull it off like this, because trying not to mess up my hair, but a dude is just gonna pull it off. Those little nuances make it different, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I remember that I watched the video, and men should sit down when they use a bathroom. Why? Because when we pee standing up, we spray everywhere. We spray on the seat. We spray on the floor.
But
you know what I mean? And a lot of times,
you're the only one that can tell the difference in that. Because I've never had there's no reason for me to stand up and know that there is a difference.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, my point is, men should sit down and pee.
True, but again, I would never know the difference. as a man,
But
you can
the
tell him.
examples that y'all use, and I don't want to go off on a tangent because we're going off on tangents now. I don't want to go off on tangent. I don't want to talk about what we talked about last week. We can do a different discussion.
Fair enough.
Let's talk about the community and the village. That's what I want to talk about.
So to bring it back around, you're helping me make my point.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you learn through trial and error as a man are so valuable that only you, a man, can explain that to my son, because I will never have that same trial and error. I will never have to decide between standing up and sitting down, because I always sit down. But you as a man can stand up and sit down and be like, sitting down makes more sense.
Even though it was a woman, I was like, you're peeing everywhere. So that's
No, I mean,
right?
I get you.
You gotta clean the top of the toilet and the bottom of and under the toilet.
But who is the person
you know what I mean?
Because
what ends up happening in the household is usually the women do the cleaning. So, but again, we're going off on a tangent. I don't want to do that, Seko. Let's get back to the topic. So yeah, we can talk about this we could do this in a different podcast.
But yo, for real,
rename the title. Rename the title, and we can keep it going. Switch it up real quick.
Yo, for real though, if the message is ain't nobody self-made, and we're talking about roles in the household, who teaches those roles, and what's the best strategy to urinate? I think it all flows together, man.
Sweater, right?
I think it all flows together.
Because
Danny, you've raised sons, right?
And daughters, yeah. Mm-hmm. And mentored for decades. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so that may have been a bad example talking about peeing.
Different one. Maybe we can make better points with a better subject matter.
All right, but Danny, you mentioned that your mother helped you become a warrior.
She only raised warriors. Yeah, she only raised warriors. Yeah.
All right, so you, your brother, and your sister. So, how did your mother, by herself, raise a warrior? Raise 3 warriors? I don't see it happening.
No, and I never said that. I never said that. I'm just saying she understood that a community is important, and like I mentioned earlier, she instilled, like, it's funny because like a lot of things that I do now, I try to, somebody asked me a question today that was like, what are 3 things you did that are for yourself? And I had to really think, because I like everything that I ended up doing, it ended up having a strong community component in it, right? So whether I did breakdancing, right? So now when breakdancing has always been, I have to make it a community component, right? I have to create a cipher in my community for all of us to get down. So every time I say I'm gonna do something when it comes to breakdance, I'm like, I have to get access to a space so that people can come together and we can cipher. So it's automatic community component. So that's something she instilled in me in a very young age. That everything you do or everything that you're doing has to have a community component to it. You know what I'm saying? So I remember being young, and I remember I spoke English and Spanish, right? So we used to go to social services, right? I used to translate for my mother. And then one time, this lady was like, hey, can you help me translate? Because I don't speak English. So I had to translate for this woman. So once a month, my mother used to drag me down to social services, right? And make me translate for people. And I hated, looking back, I hated it. I was like, oh my God, I got to get down here and sit down in social services with all these people, and I got to translate for them. And she used to make me do it. And, it was, I wouldn't even say volunteer. I say she drafted me into that, right?
Right.
But those are the things that she taught me that I was like, hey, whatever you do, you have to do for your community. So to this day, there's only 2 things I do that's not even part of it that I do for myself. Everything else I do for my community. And it's like, that's something she instilled in me. And me and my siblings, all 3 of my siblings, we all do community work. And that's something that she instilled in us very young. Very, very young. And, so that's something you have to be part of the community. You have to give back. And also the community is going to help raise you. So everything that I learned, that's why I teach capoeira for free, right? Because everything I learned from my community for free. So I've been doing that for 11 years. So yeah.
Yo, we have the good brother, the chakra doctor. What's good, bro? Yeah, he'll tap in just a second. Can't hear you right now, bro. But yo.
Oh, my bad. How y'all doing?
Right. Yo, we're talking about ain't nobody self-made. And the reason that this conversation came about was not just about the pack of lies that Netflix dropped with Self-Made with Madam C.J. Walker, there's a pervasive message that's coming across in our community that's telling our sisters.
That's telling everybody.
It's telling everybody.
Everybody, yep. Capitalism is telling everybody that you're self-made. Self-made millionaires, self-made billionaires. The CEO cult that we have going on right now, this idea that that's prevalent. That's part of capitalism. This idea that we're all self-made millionaires, that we don't need anybody. That that's on everybody. That's on everybody, man.
Long as they got us broken single, they straight.
You know what I mean? That's on everybody. They tell us that. They tell everybody that. Like you do it on your own and you're gonna make money. And that's something that's prevalent. That's something that we adopted from capitalism. That really is. It's very Eurocentric. It's something that we adopted from that. And I hear that all the time with young people. I'm an educator, and I hear that all the time. I don't need anybody, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like,
a lot of that come from abandonment, man. When you've been abandoned, what other mentality do you take? But I don't need anybody. That's the mentality you have to take in order to make it. You know what I mean? After you get to a lot of us grew up with our mothers, a lot of us grew up with our fathers. So the mentality of a person that grew up without a mother or father, or only grew up with one parent, is, hey, I got to take on that position. And when you're young and you're taking on that position, you have to act it out. You have to act out as best as you know what you don't know. And so this is where you see where a lot of people say, well, I don't need anybody, I don't want anybody. But in actuality, the reason why they're saying they don't need anybody is because they need somebody. And the reason why they're saying they don't want nobody is because they want somebody. You know what I mean? Hurt dogs holler all the time. But if we just look at what people are saying versus how people are living, we'll get caught up in what people are saying, right? And if you just look at the lifestyles people live in, it is clear to see that everybody needs somebody, right? But I don't think they actually mean it. I don't need nobody. I think that's just like what one might call a cry out or a lashing out towards the people that abandoned them, right? Because a lot of people who are abandoned, you see people who have been abandoned say that. You don't never see nobody who grew up with a mama, daddy, and a family dynamic ever talk about they don't need nobody, right? If you grew up with both parents in your house, you need somebody.
Let me just say this. There's a Eurocentric idea that started in the 50s that a family consists of mom and dad and the children. When we know in actuality in African culture, it's always been elders, parents, aunties, and uncles and cousins in the same household.
Speak on it, bro.
But we were doing that even during slavery. We were doing that. We was on that. Even if mom and dad got sold, grandma, uncle, or auntie took you in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the village raised the child.
But after that, exactly.
In that no more. That ball has been dropped.
I have students that'll be like, I live with my grandma and my grandpa. So it's your family.
Right.
That's your family. What is you talking about? You know what I mean? Like that's, or my aunt and uncle.
But elders don't find respect in being elders no more.
Yeah, like I grew up in the hood.
Remember, the elders treat children like burdens.
I grew up in the hood with people that
black elders treat kids like burdens. The first thing they do is say, I can't wait till you turn 18 to get out of my house. That's the first thing elders tell these children. I can't wait till you get old enough to get out of my house.
Now that's not an elder. That's the adult. The elder is the grandparent. In my mindset.
Well, remember the elder raised the adult. So where the adult get it from?
No, I mean I get you because my mother was that one. At 17, she was jumping up and down, like literally, physically jumping up and down, very excited to tell me, "Hey, I'm no longer responsible for you. Get ready to get the fuck out of my house."
Right? So I know this woman. She just had a baby. She just had a baby at 40 years old. And she's like, oh, man, I'm trapped again. And I'm like, you just had a baby and you're calling yourself trapped. You're like, yeah, man, I'm not supposed to be having no baby at 40. Now I'm trapped and stuck. Now I'm stuck with this baby. So now you literally got a child that you feel like is not a blessing in your life, but you're stuck. This is what a lot of parents feel like today. And a lot of parents feel like that because of abandonment. We dropped the ball when it came to what the brother was talking about. When the brother talked about, we had mamas, we had daddies, we had aunties, uncles, nephews. The village raised our children. But you already know that was an agenda to break that family dynamic up. That village dynamic has been broken.
No, but my point is that we like to look at family as a particular structure, right? And we don't look at, again, we still don't look at the village and the community as a family, right?
Right.
And again, I remember growing up with people that I thought that was their blood mom and dad, and it wasn't. They were just adopted. They were informally adopted by people. And I see it to this day. There are kids that be like, yo, that's my little brother. And I'd be like, really? Well, how y'all related? So my mom just took him in. You know what I mean? Yeah. And from a Eurocentric perspective, as I've seen as a family, but from an African perspective, that is definitely family. Because it doesn't even have to be blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know.
And that's
you hear it all the time.
Look at it,
man. Blood
so
don't make you family.
I've had students come in, and they'll be like, oh, I don't have a dad or I don't have a mom, but I'll be like, well, who do you live with? And I live with my aunt and my uncle. And I'm okay, that's family. Like that's I see
but
that.
Does that serve?
If anything, I see that more,
good enough?
If anything, I see that more as a manifestation of love, because aunt and uncle don't really in a Eurocentric society don't really have to do that, take that responsibility, but they did. But to me, that's more of a manifestation of love in action when we see that happening. You know what I mean? So and again, I look at the people in my life that were tremendously influential in how I came up in my consciousness and my growth and development. Baba Varner, Seku's dad, the late great Baba Askia, Brother George, all these individuals that I was not even related to, and they treated me like I was their son, and they treated my children like they were their grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to look at family in that perspective versus on how we look at from like Europeans look at it from mom, dad, and child.
Well, when Europeans just don't look at it that way. Black people look at it that way too. Moms and dads are very important to children. This is the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity ain't uncle, cousin, and auntie. The Holy Trinity is mother, father, child. That's the ankh. So when you're missing a key component like a mother or a father, that actually ruins the family dynamic.
I disagree.
You think it's cool that, because mama not there, I got an auntie and an uncle. But no, mama not being there, daddy not being there, removes a big gap that uncle could never fulfill. That
I think they can though.
Even though they're right there, even though they're right there, growing up in that house, that child has to live with the fact that I ain't got no biological mother taking care of me. I don't have a biological father taking care of me. I have surrogates. I'm adopted. Nobody wants to feel adopted. Nobody wants to feel like their mother or father neglecting them. And if you look at the rates in Black community, our mothers and our fathers are neglecting us at a way higher rate than the other races. So when you look at the numbers show that the mothers and the fathers together can create a bigger, whatever kind of family dynamic they want, right? But you're talking about aunties and uncles. How many uncles molested the nephew or the niece? How many aunties and cousins beat up or bullied the nephew or the niece? Every family isn't family. Just like you said, blood don't make you family. It's the way you treat each other that make you family.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But so I've known men that have been adopted. Like I dated a man in college that was adopted. Now he and I had a tiff because again, this is trauma, right? He felt like you said, Rev. I felt like, he wanted his parents. And I'm like, well, bruh, like, come on, son. My parents are not available to me, and yet they kept me. They kept me in this hellhole on purpose and called it love. But your parents were of sound mind enough to be like, hey, I can't do this, and gave you to a loving family. Now, I understand what you're saying in that he still desires that understanding, but it's really about the ability to forgive and receive. Because as a woman, it took me years to be able to receive the love from the village of women to be like, hey, I'm here. I know I'm not your mom, but here I am. I'm here to give you whatever it is that you need from a mother, right? I'm 36 now. I'm blessed to have a surrogate mother. You know what I'm saying? She calls me every morning. She checks on me. She actually gives a damn, when she's able to help me. She does what I assume a mother at 60 would do for her daughter in her 30s. Now, again, these children don't have these coping mechanisms to be able to heal themselves and receive that love from the village. And yes, they are lacking, but is it able, like, do you have to have mom? No. You have to have a mother figure. You have to be able to allow that woman to present herself as whatever that thing is you need. I remember a woman when I was 17. Again, remember, I told you I ran away from home essentially to come get my education. And there was a woman who was like, hey, I don't have to be your mom. I can be your friend. Just talk to me as you would an older woman who is here. But I couldn't receive it then because I longed so deeply for the woman that wasn't able to do that thing for me.
We
Children
always
that
want what we
aren't
can't have.
right, but it's really just a thing that has to be taught. We're not being taught the value of receiving love from other people because we're so selfish that not only have I brought this child into the world, I'm going to screw you over, whether it's subconsciously or not. Right? Because they're going through the same bullshit that their family put them through. Hence, if you look at a little 16-year-old who says, oh, I had this baby because I wanted somebody to love me, but then you also don't pay attention to the child like your mother didn't pay attention to you. You're repeating a cycle, whether willingly or not, searching for something that you won't just let yourself let go of because
So
you think I need mom
are
or
we
dad.
saying that the trauma that we've experienced is one of the reasons why there's this self-made myth going around?
Definitely.
Well, I know one thing for certain and two things for sure. You know, I know one thing for certain and two things for sure. When you talk about self-made, that don't mean I didn't have any help. That means the bulk and the heavy lifting of this whole thing, I did it by myself. Those hours up at night while you was asleep, that was myself. When you couldn't go and you couldn't come up with the money, I came up with the money. That was myself. When everybody abandoned me, who told me I could do it? Me. When everybody told me I couldn't do it, who said you could do it? Me. So when you're talking about self-made, you're talking about a person that didn't need a bulk of the help to create their path and their lane in life. When you're not talking about, oh, I didn't have any help, you're saying, hey, look at the minimal help that I did, and look how I was able to cover everything that was missing by myself, right? And when you're doing that, you are self-made. Jesus was self-made. Prophet Muhammad was self-made. All of your prophets are self-made. Man, as a matter
but they
of fact,
had help. No, I got to disagree, brother. All the prophets, all the prophets had somebody had a source. You know what I'm saying? All the prophets had a source.
I never said he didn't have help. Look at what I said. Listen to what I said. Listen to what I said. When you had barely any help, but
help, if you're gonna bring in prophets, they had the help from the highest. So you can't say that.
Well, remember, we're not talking about invisible.
No,
we're talking about physical people around the prophet.
Brought them up, so you were talking.
We're not talking about the invisible source that came and sent them. We're talking about the physical people. The prophets were ridiculed by the people. The prophets were abandoned by the people. The prophet is never accepted in his hometown unless he goes abroad. So the prophets get the hardest end of the stick when it comes to projecting something that's righteous or projecting something that's positive.
And
the prophets are shunned. The prophets get stoned. The prophet get murdered. The prophet gets ostracized and criticized for bringing the truth. No, the prophet makes it himself, because if he don't, he will fall at the wayside. The first criticism, the prophet going back into his cubbyhole. The first time they stoned him, the prophet is going back into their cubbyhole. And what if Jesus would have gave up the first time they said, nigga, you ain't the son of God? What if he would have gave up?
Where did he get that support from, though? Because he didn't go to Mount Sinai.
He got the support from there. I can do all
Actually,
things.
Jesus had 12 apostles. I mean, I don't know. Thank you. I'm
just saying he had backup.
That means if God is in me, he won't by himself. I am able to make myself how God made himself.
I remember
Jesus.
God made in his image and his likeness, and I can't make myself how God made himself.
Chakra. All right, you just brought up some interesting positions I disagree with, but also sounds like Dan Trez and Fit Guys kind of disagree with it as well. So let's do this. You just gave Yeshua as an example of somebody being self-made. Zumbi, Fit Goddess, Danny, in that order. Was Yeshua self-made?
No.
No.
And I'll start. I'll go back to what I said at the top of the show. Okay. Everything in nature is about systems and teams. Okay. So we take Yeshua. Okay. His teammate was the Most High, whatever name you want to use. He had a team of, for lack of a better term, the Dirty Dozen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And let's not forget the women in his team. His mother, I want to say aunt.
Jesus built that team, brother.
Okay.
You can't say that's his team. That's like LeBron James.
Hold on. So Jesus built Mary? Jesus built Mary, his mother?
Chakra, hold tight. Chakra, hold tight.
He had disciples. What about before the disciples?
Hold on.
Chakra, hold tight.
Again, you
Chakra, hold
adopted a
tight.
Eurocentric concept. You adopted a Eurocentric concept in things, man.
Chakra, hold tight. Chakra, hold tight.
Yeah.
Chakra, hold tight. Hold tight. We're gonna come back to you, Chakra. Hold tight. I love this. Hey, Zumbi, finish your point, and then
my bad, brother Zumbi, my bad.
Okay, so and we say this with Prophet Yeshua or Prophet Isa, then we go to Prophet Muhammad. Okay, his Sahabas who fled with him when he got chased out of Medina into Ethiopia. Okay, and in fact, he chose one of his teammates, if you will, Bilal, to be his successor.
The accountant. Yep.
Okay, but Bilal turned down the offer. So what I'm saying is that if in nature everything is built with systems and teams, what makes man exempt from that?
All right.
That's the thing. So remember, I stated earlier, I never said that you did it by yourself. I'm saying that the bulk of the work, when Jesus was feeding the 5,000 with the 2 loaves and the bread, what was the disciples part of that?
Passing out the food. They was passing out the food in the baskets.
Wait a minute. I just said, but it wouldn't be no food to pass out had not Jesus multiplied the fish.
Yeah. All right. Fit Goddess, we kind of skipped over you.
Sorry. But just think about that real quick. These teams are LeBron James.
I'm gonna break it down even further.
Ain't no team.
I'm gonna break it down even further. Right, on a molecular level, DNA structure-wise, there are 2 strands that must combine together and turn into a double helix. There is no one strand that can do it by itself. I need the X and the Y. I need all the things in order to work. There's no way. The brother said it at the beginning of the show. It takes a masculine and a feminine principle, right? If Jesus had nobody else, he had his mother.
I never said he didn't have nobody though.
No, but again, he didn't. But you're talking about the bulk of the work. Nobody.
I'm talking. So listen, when I say the bulk of the work,
no.
Chakra, hold tight.
Okay,
Chakra, hold tight.
The bulk of the work.
You still talking, brother? Come on. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, we're very polite.
She's reclaiming her time.
we all good. We listen to you when you speak. Have respect for the lady.
Peace.
So, again. The bulk of the work was done by who? Actually, Mary, creating Jesus. For real. With not for Mary. How so? How so?
Okay, let her finish, Chakra. Let her finish. Let her finish, Chakra.
Let her finish.
She said how so? She asked me how so.
What? Yeah, she did.
Right, but you jumped in. You jumped in before I could finish my statement. So of course I'm going to converse with you respectfully. That's what we're trying to do.
That's all right.
However, we did ask for couple minutes for me to give my word before you jumped in.
I mean, but if you're speaking falsehood, let me jump in.
No, but I mean, so as a woman,
let me debate that.
A debate typically goes where a person says their full thought, and then once they've conferred, then the other person goes. How do you debate? Because
all right, so
yelling back and forth is not a debate.
Yo, Fit Goddess, make your point, and then we go to Dan Trez, and then we're going to move on.
Again. In the creation, if we're talking about the story of life, before Jesus was even created, he was implanted into the universe of a woman. in which there would happen mitosis, where the cell division, all of this work is being done by the body, the host, which is Mary. So before Jesus is even into the realm of saying anything, she taught him how to walk. She taught him how to eat. She taught him how, before he could do anything, she taught him all of that. It's not like he learned how to speak on his own. Somebody had to teach him in order to prophesy and be able to reach the people. Somebody had to tell him A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That person, if it wasn't Mary, it was the village. Maybe it was the three wise men that came when he was born. What about all these people that showed up at his birth that were there to give him gold, jewels, clothing? Like, these people don't matter, because before he became 13 and then 33, there's a lot of people that are in his story, right, that actually gave him strength, mercy, grace, forgiveness, housing, food, shelter, encouragement, words, discipline. Or these things don't matter, because without these things, who is he? Without those things, if none of those things happen, who will Yahshua be? Just another nobody walking around doing nothing.
Dan Tres, I know that you wanted to tap in.
I didn't want to tap in. I didn't want to tap in.
You didn't want to tap in?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I most definitely disagree on that shit.
I'm good. I'm
all
good.
day.
I'm good.
But yo,
because y'all forgetting who his father is.
But you know what?
You don't even give credit to his father.
I think
his father blessed his mother and chose her for a reason.
I think
keyword, father chose her, not the other way around.
The important thing is,
well, because the Father God created her.
Well, that's what the creator does. Remember,
sure, and as a creator,
we're all happy that we're chosen, right?
No, but remember, the creator is the only one that brings life into the world. The creator is the only one that brings life into the world.
Hold tight. Hold tight. I think that the important piece, even though we might disagree with, with Chuck, and, we all have our different pieces and perspectives, we're really all saying it takes a village. We're really all saying
one man
it takes a
can
village.
Change the world.
I disagree, but go ahead.
One man can change the world.
Yeah, by giving him one that multiplies. The only way
you can't
change the world of nobody's.
You can't have Martin Luther King.
Never said you couldn't change the world with nobody. We said the bulk. I said the bulk.
I said the bulk.
Remember that statue? That statue
with
the weight of the world on your shoulders?
Yeah, but if you carrying the weight of the world around and don't nobody give a shit, then
nobody's
what
supposed
are you
to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. Nobody.
Thank you. Many hands make light work.
That's impossible to carry the weight of the world on nobody. That's impossible.
You're not supposed to, man.
You're not supposed to. Any self-employed person is overworking themselves. Yep. Why do I want to be my accountant and everything else for myself when I can delegate and make it much easier? Again, morals in African, right? Afrocentricity, many hands make light work. That's where we come from.
Facts.
It's easier for me to be like, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this. Another African problem, right? We go far. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yep. Ain't no way we come from a people that says one man can make the world. I love the song. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I tell my sons, you are great enough with effort and companionship that you can change the world with your thought, but then you have to get other people to agree and move with you. Or
he has to get other people to agree. If he don't get other people to agree,
but that don't take no work. That don't take no physical work. Because look, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, because he can't change the world if it falls on him by himself. If I can't get you to agree, you ain't gonna change shit.
If a person builds a team, that person built that team. The team didn't build itself.
No, but the team was already built. Meaning, if
the team was already built.
Listen. If you are an accountant, that doesn't mean that you're not a part of my team. That doesn't make you any less of an accountant. That just means you play for me.
We're not talking about building companies. We're talking about building nations. You know what I mean?
Everybody play a role.
Like what you saying, Reverend, is talking about, I'm going to build a company. You know what I mean? We're not doing capitalism. We're not doing Eurocentric shit. We're building a nation. You know what I mean? And it's going to take a community to do that. It ain't going to take one person creating a team. That's building a company to sell sneakers. You know what I mean? That's not the business that we in. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the direction we should take this conversation in.
Yeah.
So how do we better unite to deal with some of the junk that we're dealing with? Chakra, I know back in, you're in the dirty South. You're in the real dirty. How are people coming together to address our young people going to jail?
Well, first and foremost, they're not coming together. They're doing the same thing that they've been doing. We shall overcome someday, march and don't do nothing, go back to work for the white boy. I mean, that's what we're doing. All we're doing is finding out easier ways to get more lazy. All we're doing is finding out easier ways to get more stagnant. You know what I mean? When you look at it, all we're doing is pointing fingers and saying, hey, no, if you really take on the mentality of self-made, there'll never be a finger to point outside of you, because it's all on you, whether it succeed or not. I remember when I became conscious, I wrote an affirmation over hundreds of thousands of times. And that affirmation was no fear, no doubt, no indecisions, no excuses. It's all my fault. Meaning that as a leader of a nation or leader of a team, leader of a corporation, leader of a family, whatever leadership position you're in, ultimately the bulk of the responsibility will fall on your shoulders. Right now, if America falls, everybody will blame Joe Biden, even though we know Sleepy Joe ain't pulling the controls. But everybody's gonna point the finger at Joe because he's the leader, right? If we go anywhere in the world, the leader will get the blame, and the leader will get the bulk of the responsibility, which means that leader by himself can handle way more than what the team can do, even though he needs a team. Even though every nucleus of a cell needs protons, neutrons, electrons, mitochondria, and all the things that make up the cell, we know that the nucleus, without the nucleus of the cell, ain't no cell. Don't even worry about the other pieces of the cell getting together because it has no nucleus. So when we're talking about science, we got to analyze it from that perspective, cellular perspective. A cell without a nucleus is not a cell at all. So it's the nucleus. When a baby is born, what forms first? The heart. This is why the heart is the most important thing in your body. Okay, so we know even though the heart has other players, right?
Yeah, even the heart has two chambers.
Who is carrying the bulk of the work for the body? The heart. The heart works 24 hours a day, pumping nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If it stops, it's over with, right? So we know that there are
the heart has two chambers,
parts on the body of Christ. And we know that no one part is singled out over the next, but we do have to analyze the order of importance and responsibility when it comes to the parts, okay? And not saying that, the heart is more important than the brain. No, we're saying that the heart has more responsibilities and a bigger role to play than the brain. It has to feed the brain so the brain can operate. So I'm just bringing this to perspective of, hey,
we moving on, man. Why you still on that who has the most responsibility? You still on that? We moving on from that, man.
Y'all moved on from that. You gotta move on from that.
You still on that, B? Come on,
who are you?
On from that, man.
Who are you?
Move on, man.
What? You know what?
I'm dead. I'm telling you, you still on that.
You can't tell me how to speak, my nigga.
No, I'm not telling you how to speak. I'm telling you in this panel, we moving on from that is what I'm telling you.
Man,
I'm not trying to get you upset. I'm not trying to get you upset. I'm just saying that we still on that and we moving on, yo. Come on, we moving on. Seko asked a question. Let's answer that question. We're not talking about what we talked about 10 minutes ago.
Remember, I answered the question. I said we're not coming together.
What we was talking about 10 minutes ago, man.
Well,
yo. So we even got brother Will Justice.
Y'all been talking about it. I just got in it. So that's number one. And number two, a big fuck you. I don't give a fuck about what you think, my nigga, for you to be coming at me like that, bro.
Thank you, man.
Wow.
Man.
Sheesh, that took a little bit longer than I thought. Seko, God, please.
Yo, we're gonna put Chakra. We're gonna let Chakra calm down.
Seko, I'm sorry, that was on me. I shouldn't have went like that, but I just really felt like he was going.
No. Hey, every so often we get impassioned.
Yeah.
And my dude Chakra. One of the things he's real passionate about is we stepping up to shoulder the weight of responsibility.
Yeah,
and I think he may have come off, bro Chakra, I think he just come off a lot super impassioned in that. And as I'm sitting back listening to what we're saying, I see that we need the unity, but we also need the leader to step up.
No, I don't even think it's that. I think what it is that one thing I've learned with community work is our connections, right? Like, who do we know? Because when it comes to liberation, there's different lanes. You know what I mean? And for example, like my brother may be down with food justice, and just because I don't do food justice doesn't mean that his work is less important than my work. It's just as important in my work. It's just that I'm not into the food justice business, right? So what I need to do is, if I know somebody that wants to do food justice, I need to connect them to that, right? If I know somebody that does mentorship, and I don't do, because I do consciousness raising, right? That's my lane, right? So like I do consciousness raising, I don't do mentorship, but my sister does mentorship, so I need to connect you with that person. And I think that's where nation building really works, right? So Fit Goddess does fitness. So people that are sick over here, I need to connect them. I don't need to be like, well, I don't do that. I don't do that shit over here. Whatever. That's not as important as the work that I do. It is just as important as the work that I do, and I need to connect them. And that's how we need to work, right? That's the business we need to. If you do mental health, then my brother over here does mental health. I need to connect you with them. If you're doing financial responsibility and financial education, then I need to hook you up with Seko and do that over there. Be like, well, I don't do what Seko does. Fuck Seko. You know what I mean? Like, that's how we need to do this nation building. You know what I mean?
Famous words of brother RZA Islam, it's too late for all that. Too many of y'all sleeping in bed with white folks, and too many of y'all done sold y'all soul already.
And you pointing fingers, bro. We don't need to do that, man. We don't. He asked the question. Yo,
I'm being a realist.
I'm
being real. Y'all talking fantasy.
Shot. One of the things I talked about was the streets that you live in, man. So Will Justice actually just gave you a cosign saying that you're right about the frustration of people not coming together in NOLA. Now, I know you're no longer in NOLA, but you grew up in NOLA, right? You went to jail in NOLA. You had your family in NOLA. Did you feel that frustration that Will's talking about?
Now the women are on drugs. The women are popping pills and doing dope and going to jail like men. It is completely getting worse. It's not getting better. You know, it is not getting better with more of the opiate use, with more of the music, with more of the bad eating and the bad dieting, with more of the laziness, with more of handouts from massa. It is not getting better. It's not. Go look at the state of the black community right now. We're the worst that we ever been since we've been here. And we are the richest that we ever been since we've been here as well. We're the richest and the worst that we ever been since we've been here. Right now, as we speak, 2023.
So what do we do about that? Let's round table on that. Dan Tres.
There you go.
I already said what I said, man. We need to we all have different lanes. We need to connect those lanes and keep putting in that work.
I feel this is the one thing I feel.
Well, hold up. Wait till we come back to you. Fit Goddess.
My bad. Just one little quick sentence.
No.
My bad.
Fit Goddess.
Sorry.
We gotta heal. It's a brain issue, right? The physiological trauma has turned into physical trauma, which looks like self-destruction. Right? They sang a song about it when I was a baby. You know, I wasn't even old enough. The song was at least 10 years old, maybe 5 years old by the time I actually heard it for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know, your daddy know, you know the song was talking about.
You aging me right now. You aging me.
Right. Yeah. I'm aging myself, bro. Like, it's not that we don't know. It's we get so passionate, we lose control about instead of focusing that passion to be like, hey, okay, here is the problem. The actual problem is that I have a mental issue. And it looks like self-loathing. How do I love myself? How do I rebuild trust in myself? Because it's not that I don't trust you, brother. I don't trust me to trust you. First of all, I don't trust myself to make a decision to trust the person that is in front of me. That's a personal problem. Like, if I can't look at my brother and see team, that's a personal problem. If I can't look at my sister who looks like me, regardless of shade, tone, or whatever, that's a mental issue where I'm looking into a physical 3D mirror and I'm hating what I see. That's my piece. We got to heal our minds first in order to actually be able to look at ourselves with love.
The one solution for black people don't follow. And what's that one solution that they always told us? Mind your business, focus on yourself, improve your own life, and let others watch you and copy it. That's what you do. You live your life to the highest and best positive that you can possibly live as a Afrocentric thinker, Afrocentric liver, eater, and communicator and networker. Let others watch you and copy you. Really, when you give it to people, they don't respect it. When you hand it to them, they don't respect it. But when they got to go through something to earn it, that's when they're going to respect your walk. That's when they're going to respect your talk. But a lot of times, we want to play Captain Save a community, Captain Save a black person. No, we are the gods and goddesses of the planet Earth. We will figure it out as long as we focus on ourselves and our immediate surroundings. A lot of times, we worrying about what Sister Alligator, Brother Crocodile, and Joe Sauce's Head and Plain Jane doing. Man, we need to focus on what I'm doing as an individual person, aka self-made, what I'm going, and I'm gonna make myself do these particular things for myself. Other people will see me do these things for myself and do those things for themselves with improvisation to their own liking and to their own custom. That's how you do that.
Okay.
Improve yourself.
All right,
That's
Zumbi. Zumbi, how do we fix this stuff?
In a previous show, I talked about a concept called Kaizen, which is what you find in Japanese business culture. How can I be 1% better today than I was yesterday? How can I be 1% better tomorrow than I was today? Okay. That's the beginning. I've always said that revolution begins in a mirror.
Don't do it to him, Zumbi.
Right, revolution begins in a mirror. Okay. And revolution is not an event, but a movement. Okay. I'm at a point in my life to where everything that I do in my lane, as Dan would say, I would ask myself, how will the books I write affect the next 7 generations? So it's not just about me. It's about those who will come after me, those yet to be born that I will never see, that I have to take into consideration as I walk my path. Okay. So it's not just about the here and now, because sometimes you've got to plant trees that you'll never sit under. Okay. And I think sometimes we get caught up in our own self-aggrandizement and forget that there are those behind us who will be the ultimate beneficiaries of the work we do here today. Okay. So, and that's why I forgot where I read it. They said the stronger you are, the more humbler you become. Okay. So I think we have to really begin to, from the inside out, is how we build that team, that system, that village, that ultimately that nation. Okay. And it's kind of like Maslow's in reverse, but I think that's how it has to go.
No doubt. I
you said, and you mean Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Right.
Yeah, truly. All right.
That's intriguing. That's intriguing.
Well, tell me this: if we're planning our lives, if we're creating this work with the idea in mind that, hey, somebody in the future is going to be reading this, somebody in the future is going to be digesting this, do we have to also consider that in our behavior as well, not just in our books or our works that we write?
Yeah, absolutely. Like this book, and I'm holding this up here. This is the Honorable Marcus Garvey's course on African philosophy. Now, he wrote this in the late 20s, early 30s. Okay. He had no idea who was going to read it in the years to come. But because I have it now, there are things that he wrote then that I can apply to now, that can be applied to after I'm gone. Okay. Because the one thing, and I heard Dr. Miles Monroe say this, and this is for authors. He says the one thing that you never want to be a generational thief. Okay? You never want to be a generational thief. Les Brown said it best: live full, die empty. So everything that we do, our walk, everything should be a living testament and a template and a blueprint for future generations to follow. Okay. Exactly. So it's not just how we think, it's how we speak, how we act. Everything that we do
exactly
is for those next 7 generations. And so that's my whole thought process.
Amen. I mean, because it's better to take it right now. If you look, China, their population is dying. All of the Eurocentric populations are falling off, and you see nature is slowly but surely handing the crown of authority back into our hands. We just have to be prepared to receive it. And how can we be prepared to receive it if we're overweight? How can we be prepared to receive it if we just not taking care of ourselves? That starting from within, you know? And that's what I just feel like. If we just all start from within and just take care of ourselves, I feel like we'll develop that love for ourselves to love each other and then connect with each other. But how can we connect with each other and we're all toxic? How can we truly have real good connections with each other and we all are sick or something is going on, we broke or we sick, we downtrodden, we going through all these things? I just feel like self-improvement will do all of us some great network building, because if you improve yourself and you've healed yourself and you've taken care of your traumas, like the Queen was talking about, taking care, that trauma base and taking care of all those traumas, those childhood traumas, you're not going to be acting out those childhood traumas when we come together and build a business. You're not going to be acting out those hurts and those pains that you went through with your people when it's time for us to sit at the table and organize. But we're sitting at the table and organizing, we're stressing about this at home. We're going through so many things personally that we're not even fully capable enough to indulge ourselves fully into a network of Black excellence that would say, hey, it could rival that of the Jews or rival that of the Italians or rival that of any other race on the planet. You know what I mean? Because we're just unhealthy. And when a whole bunch of unhealthy people getting together is just a recipe for disaster in my world. And
yo, Chakra, I love that, man. That was your wrap up, though. That was your wrap up. Minister Zumbi, man, go ahead and give us your wrap up. We'll have Dan Trez with the wrap up, and then we'll end with the Fit Goddess. All right, so Zumbi, bro, you on? Wrap up, bro.
All I have to say, and I think Chuck D said it best in Welcome to the Terror Dome. Move as a team, never move alone. As I said at the top of the show, nature has built itself in systems and teams. So I think we need to, remind ourselves of that and remember what's the old gospel song where it says, you'll never walk alone.
Hey, Zumbi, hold up your book, man.
Oh, yeah.
We closing up, man. You better get your commercial in.
So here's the book. This is about 22 years of research and personal experience in business. You can purchase this at your melanated bookstore, or you can get it from Amazon. And I'm working on the expanded edition as we speak.
Dan Trez on me.
Okay.
Yo, bro.
Just going to reiterate what I said earlier. Find your lane. Find your lane where you work best in. Put in that work for your community and make those connections, man. Because we're going to do the only way we're going to win is liberation is only be through a community. That's it.
All right. So, yo, Dan, talk about your podcast real quick, man. This is commercial time.
Where my killer tape at, pretty much what you see me spitting here is what I spit there. But real quick, we are doing a book club for men. We're going to be doing Stickman's The 5 Principles. We're going to do it in 5 parts, beginning in February, the end of the month. So get with me. We're going to do an online component and an in-person component if you're local.
Hope you got your book, Queen.
Yeah, I had to go off camera and get it. Now, so since y'all asking, right? I'm super serious. 4 years ago, I used to weigh 240 pounds. I'm like 158 now, but that's on purpose. Like I'm trying to increase my skeletal muscle mass. I want it to be, it's more than half of my body weight. And what we don't realize is that that skeletal muscle mass is what determines longevity. And I'm really into nutrition and eating well. I have two sons who, back in 2020, encouraged me to produce this smoothie book. There are 31 different smoothies towards a healthier you. And my acronym BREATHE stands for Build Resiliency Every Day and Think Health Eternally. Like I seriously want it for us, so much so that I just turned my life into my mission. Like the brother said, I'm not shouldering the weight because I don't do it alone. I find other people that are into fitness, and we go to the mountaintops and scream and bring all the people together to shake tail and lift weights and do all the things while also enjoying ourselves, and then I tell them, hey, eat this, drink this, do these things because I love you so much that I love me too. I am what you are, and remember that it's you're supposed to move your body. You're supposed to exercise. If you're depressed, get up and move.
I say, well, hey, you've been checking out the Get On Code show. We had my good brother, Reverend Chakra Doctor, who popped back in. Hadn't seen you in a bit, God. Good to see you, man. Brother Minister Zumbi. We had the Fit Goddess and my man from another mom, another father, my good brother Dan Trez Omi. Good to have you back on the scene, good brother. And, like we always say, drink your water, eat your vegetables, call your parents, engage with your parents. They miss you. And last but not least, we love you. Be at peace. Peace.